And this morning, we shall be looking at the state of engineering here in Kenya. We are in the company of President. That's right. Plus a council member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And then later on, we shall be looking at the state of innovation in this country. That's right. You remember, Kenya was one of the first countries in Africa to develop a STEM policy in a bid to harness the potential of research and innovation. Because as we are saying, innovation is going to be the fuel that is going to drive innovation, economic growth in the future. Kenya, being a silicon savannah, it cannot afford to be left out. It's playing a role to ensure that it remains as the silicon savannah of Africa. Where else do you get this kind of conversation? You sure? It's on Biz Check right here on KBC. Time now is coming to 10 minutes past 10. And of course, this being Biz Check, we have our reporters across the country, from all the counties. They are tracking the news at the county level. And also, we are keeping an eye on the expected press briefing by the government spokesperson. What is he expected to say? And of course, a number of parliamentary committees are in session as we speak, and we shall be going to Parliament just to understand what issues are being addressed. Good morning, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. I want you to follow me on my socials at O'Brien Kimani and at KBC Channel 1. We just want to hear from you, and of course, link up with you so that you can be part of the great conversation that we're going to have in this studio. It's cold in Nairobi. That's right. We're talking about lows of 15. Yeah, it's freezing. And so we'll try to keep you company and, of course, ensure that you stay warm. I told you our conversation this morning is around the state of engineering here in Kenya. And who are better placed to talk about the state of engineering in Kenya? It's the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. It's an old institution, started back in 1972. We're talking about how many years? Yeah, we shall be discussing that. And joining us on the set is none other than the President, Shama Kiteme. Shama, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, O'Brien, for having us.
Very good. And Shama is not alone. He's accompanied by a council member of IEK. This is Engineer Dr. Damaris Oyaro. Oyaro, asante sana.
Asante.
Very good. I just want to start with Shama. How would you describe the state of engineering here in Kenya today?
Well, thank you very much, O'Brien, for having us this morning. An interesting question, to be honest, because historically, like you alluded to, all civilizations are defined by the infrastructure they leave behind. Whether we talk of the Roman Empire, the Colosseums, whether we talk of early Egyptian civilization, the pyramids, etc., and all that we see in Greece. Civilizations are defined by the kind of infrastructure they leave behind. And so when you talk about our country, we're in a place whereby engineering, as it were, has contributed a lot to the development of the economy. When you focus on construction industry, for example, which engineering is at the center of, it has a huge contribution to the our economy. When you talk about sectors like energy, this country is powered through engineering. When you talk about transportation and infrastructure, airports, roads, blue economy, we are talking about engineering. When you talk about water, we can't survive without water. We're talking about engineering contribution to life, healthcare, digital, superhighway, and stuff like that. Engineering is at the center of what that we do as a country. Now, we seen times when the role of the engineer has not been appreciated. Yes, we have seen that. However, on the back of everything, we have engineers working very hard and pushing the economy and pushing this country. You can imagine we cannot survive a minute without power, for instance. Even here, this interview cannot proceed without power.
Yep.
And we have our engineers behind this.
And there are engineers behind this.
Yeah. So the role of engineering is so central to our life today that we define today's life we live as powered by the physics. Because whether we talk of microchip, everything we're having, the phone, the watch, it's engineering behind that. And so, yeah, that's where we are in terms of the role of engineering in the economy.
Very good. What about Engineer Oyaro?
Okay. As the President has alluded, the standards or the state of engineering in the country currently, we've quite advanced from where we were, from the basic maram roads all over the country. Right now we can see better infrastructure, and also as we progress with time, we are seeing sophisticated equipments coming into the country, and also our engineer being able to come up with various innovation so that we can sustain and help mankind or the Kenyans have a simpler life. As an engineer, we collect all the basic sciences plus maths, put it together so that we can make the life easier and simple. So we've advanced and we are keeping with the current trends in the engineering world all over the world.
One of the glaring disparities in Kenya's engineering industry is the ratio of men and women in this industry. You belong to the minority. Less than 10% of our professional engineers are women. And so there has been debate on how do we close this engineering gender gap in this country. What ideas do you have? How can we achieve this?
Okay. The first reasons why we have this gender disparity, of course, it's the gender stereotypes. Engineering is not a lady's duty. It's mostly a man's society. We are trying to break these stereotypes by doing a lot of mindset change, both to the girl child and also their parents, because most of the children back in school will embrace a career following to the advice they get from the society. So as we go on, we are trying to bring in this, changing the mindset so that we break the stereotypes. There is a lot of mentoring going around to the girl child.
I want you to hold up. I mean, when we were growing up, and I'm talking about many years ago, the teachers, you would come to class and ask you, what would you want to be? And I can tell you for free that we used to have the 3 top professional courses that people would pick. One of them was doctor, engineer, or teacher. So you threw me off balance when you say that, you know, girls at a tender age, they don't get good guidance on how to embrace engineering. Can you please help us understand that much better?
Yes. As long as most of the girls who are very good in STEM, they tend to go to medicine as compared to engineering because of the setting that in the girls' schools, most of the girls' schools, there is this one major subject that distinguishes us from others. That is physics. You'll find very few ladies will embrace it. So now, that is now where the difference comes in. You'll find in boys' schools, physics is like common to everyone, but in girls' school, the uptake is quite not there. And now,
and why is that so?
I think it's the orientation people have, the mindset that physics is quite hard. We can't face it as girls. You know, it's the same way that we say maths is hard.
And who should be blamed for that perception? Because it's a perception.
It's the society. It's how we've been brought about, the stereotypes that we've been having. It's just a mindset. But if you set yourself to do it, I'm very sure maths is not so hard. Most girls do very well, given the correct guidance. So that is what, as now the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we've gone in and trying to do a lot of advocacy on engineering being for all genders.
Engineering being for all genders.
Yes.
Shama, I mean, you've been in office, you know, barely 1 year, and your membership is about 12,000.
Absolutely.
12,000.
Yeah.
And 12,000 professional engineers in a country with a population of almost 60 million people.
Yeah.
Is that a good ratio?
Not at all. Look, the acceptable ratios are 1 engineer into 5,000. Right now, we are not anywhere close to that because registered professional engineers in this country are, roughly 3,000 going to 3,500. That tells you the ratio is way off. Now, this country has ambitious development agenda targeting 2030, and more immediate fifth government priorities that are largely engineering. That ratio of professionals to the population is a big disservice to this country, and we must work to improve it. We should be aiming around 1 engineer to 5,000, so that then we can see, and countries that have rapidly advanced, talk of Germany, South Korea, that ratio is as high as 1 into 100. So when you talk of anything 1 into 10,000, whatever, we are actually really way off if we are to achieve what we want. But most important thing is what we are doing as the institution. We have put in measures to reach out to all graduate engineers. We have had sessions with them. We have taken them through mentorship sessions so that they can appreciate the need to transition and become professional engineers. We sit every month as a council to approve membership, and we are very aggressive in supporting the Engineers Board of Kenya because it's necessary, it's required by law. Before you become a professional engineer, you are a corporate member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And so we're working very hard to make sure that all those who meet the threshold and qualifications, they do join. Initially, a couple of years ago, 6 years down the line, back, we were actually spending significant amount of money to go through these mentorship sessions. Right now, they are free. We hold them over the weekends. And you have provided the tools that are necessary for our members who want transition. And you have seen good numbers for the record, but we are saying we need to see more so that we can really be at par with the UNESCO standards, that is 1 engineer to 5,000 population. Yeah.
How many graduate engineers do we churn out into the market every year?
Well, I would estimate around 2,500 every year.
So 2,500
yes.
every year.
Yeah.
And so in 10 years, then you'd look at 25,000.
You would. However, you know that there are usually factors of attrition.
Yeah.
Some opt not to practice engineering. They end up in other roles. Others find their way out of this country. That's a fact. However, as we speak now, we have over 23,000 of them who should be able to transition and become professional engineers. That's a big number.
So you have 23,000 graduate engineers?
Yes, 23,000 and counting.
Vis-a-vis 3,000 registered engineers?
3,500 thereof. So
why that huge disparity?
There's a huge gap. There are several contributing factors. Initially, it was regarded very hard to transition. People thought there were some people who were gatekeepers, who were frustrating those who want transition. However, I've been in the council since 2018, and we have worked very hard to demystify this process. I attempted to register myself like the 4th, 5th year of graduating. And by the 6th year, I'd already become a PE. Right now, there are people who have registered within 3 years, which is a statutory requirement by law.
Yep.
That tells you the process has really been demystified. And I can tell you, anyone who makes an effort to register, they will register. Even if not at the first attempt, they will be sufficiently guided by the panel and be told what they need to do. Even when I went there, I sat my first interview and I was told, look, though you have done well in all the other areas, we need you to go back and demonstrate competence in contract management and contract administration. When I came back, and I did not even spend 15 minutes in that interaction with the panel. They told me, we see you did what you did, and you complied with our guidance, and so I was given the professional status. So what you're saying is that historically there has been those bottlenecks that you worked very hard to remove them. There is actually an outreach program telling graduate engineers, now you don't have to wait. This is what you can do for you to be able to transition. Now, those who make an effort, I can guarantee you they are transitioning, and the transition rate has really improved. Every time we sit as a council, we are proving numbers into 150, 200. When I was getting into the council, it was hardly 50. So we can see the efforts of this outreach, these efforts of mentorship, and we are sitting in a good place. We are way better than even some regional countries, you know that, but we are saying we want to keep working at it, and we can see the progress.
Engineer Oyaro, you know, the president is talking about, you know, elaborate plans that the institution has put in place to ensure that there is smooth and fast transition from a graduate engineer to a professional engineer. When you look at regulations, and when you look at the Engineers Board of Kenya, which is the institution that is in charge of regulating this industry, are there areas that we need to tweak so that we can expedite this process and make it much faster?
Thank you. The Engineers Board of Kenya is the one that regulates the profession. There are areas, yes, we need to tweak. Like there is a lot of, we can say, expertise that we require, some training that we require after graduation, so that you are like a professional engineer. So we need a lot of internship. We need to tweak the parastatals that we have to take in more graduates for the sake of training them, for the sake of becoming professional engineers. So the internship bit is highly required because we require all this section: contract management, design, and fieldwork, which you can only get from if you work in a company. But this is not forthcoming. So you'll find most of them are doing jobs that will not lead them to be professional engineers. So I guess after just the way we can say the doctors transit into hospitals so that they do the internship, also the engineers, if we get that internship, most of them will be registered by the third year of practicing.
Look, you're saying that we don't have enough internship opportunities. And Kenya is being described as one big construction site. I mean, you have constructions, you know, taking place in all parts of this country, from roads to buildings to airports to ports. And all these sites, there is demand for engineers. So what is not happening, honestly?
I guess now it's part of us as the leaders now to go negotiate for our graduates to be part of this work, because most of them might be from private companies, especially the structures, and they tend to go for contractors, not Kenyan contractors, but foreign contractors. And these foreign contractors come with their people. So you see, if they are to take some of our engineers, there'll be very few. And of course, they will go for the professionals and forget the graduates. So it's time for us to negotiate for most of these graduates.
I, as a contractor, for example, if I hire the services of a graduate engineer, what are the risk factors involved as opposed to hiring professional engineer?
The risk factor, the first thing is the liability of the GE is not like the one for the professional engineer. That's the main risk.
So then why would I want to take a graduate engineer?
Basically, that's the question. But having a professional engineer there, they can guide these graduate engineers so that in the end of the day, we need that succession. The professionals are becoming old. Who will take over?
What is the average age of a Kenyan engineer?
Currently, it should be 35.
35?
A professional engineer. 30, 35.
It's supposed to be 30, 35?
Yes.
So they are within the bracket of
Youth.
Gen Zs?
Yes.
So why then don't we have, and I want to hear this from Engineer Kiteme, why don't we then have some sort of a chaperoning kind of programs whereby, you know, we have professional engineers, you know, guiding and helping graduate engineers, you know, wade through the jungle of this industry?
Ah, good one. So, look, what we do as an institution, we provide a platform for networking, for mentorship, because basically we look at the welfare and we're involved in the advocacy for the profession. We do have sessions where we mentor students. We have even speed mentoring sessions. We have deliberately had sessions with graduate engineers to discuss issues that affect them. And so there are deliberate efforts, even linking up young engineers to senior engineers so that they can learn. What we are saying is this. When you look at some of the professions, for example, in the doctors, when you graduate, there's a guaranteed internship which is paid by government. We are saying Kenya is one big construction industry. You alluded to that. But have we put in deliberate effort to make sure that every construction undertaking, there are provisions for training? And this is something we've been pushing, so that there is a budget set aside for every BOQ for training. And that creates opportunities for graduate engineers and for students who want internship. Every day I receive in my phone so many requests for internship and attachments. And if we made it a requirement as a country, every project we are doing, there is a budget set aside for training. And this creates opportunities for graduate engineers, creates for learning, creates opportunities for students, internships. And we can even go further and say, every engineering student who graduates in this country is guaranteed a 3-year internship, for instance, that is paid by the government. And it is done for doctors. Why not the same for engineers? And pays them something, so that we know that for every of the 2,500 engineers we're producing every year, we have a guarantee that we're feeding into the pipeline every year. 3 years after that, they are going to become professional engineers. It is not difficult to see that number changing. In about 4 years, we're talking about that number changing into the numbers we are looking for based on the UNESCO standard. So we're saying there has to be a deliberate effort, and we have made a noise about this. We have had interactions with the Public Service Commission so that there's an internship program that is deliberate and targeting engineers, but also compensated well. What we have right now is very small, taking a very few numbers, and they're paid paltry sum, 25,000, when you know their colleagues, they are clamoring for 200. In the medical field, they are claiming 200,000. We are saying, why not pay these interns, even 150,000? And then we are looking at a guarantee of a pipeline for churning out engineers. And this country needs them if we are to achieve the target we want about. So that there has to be a deliberate effort to build the capacity. And I'm telling you, if we don't do this, then we are looking at a point where we are going to start importing engineers. I keep on reminding our colleagues that we want to be operating a nuclear power station in 2036. For you to run one nuclear power station, you need like 1,000 engineers.
1,000?
1,000. If you want that number, and you cannot get it locally, because we have not trained engineers, we will start importing them from other countries. Now we're importing engineers as expatriates to this country, and our own engineers are jobless. It's a big problem.
Why would anybody want to hire a foreign engineer over a local engineer?
But that's what is happening. Why? Because we are entering into financial agreements that some of them are saying, for you to submit a bid for this E or I, you have to be of Chinese nationality. You have to be of Japanese nationality. So from the word go, we have crafted finance agreements that work against our own citizens. And you're saying, this is not sustainable, it is not good. We are punishing this country because you have that financial agreement, you get the tender awarded, the project is done. We will pay for those loans, us and our children and our grandchildren. We are paying for work which was done by foreigners. We paid them and they went. It's slavery, modern day slavery. And you're saying, why don't we be deliberate, even in finance agreements? And if these finance agreements, they are skewed, we know they start somewhere in foreign capitals. Why don't we have engineers as in those diplomatic missions who can advise our colleagues in the foreign service on the issues that they need to consider and all that? Or even in the treasury, where these financial agreements are being struck. Why are we having agreements that are so lopsided and working against our own citizens? We have even written to Minister of Interior requesting for appointment with CS Kindiki and asking him, why are you letting in through immigration people to come here to do a job that locals and Kenyans can do? We can have a conversation, and we have a pool of engineers. They are available, whether electrical, mechanical, mechatronic, textile, agricultural. We have a pool of engineers ready to do this work. Every day I receive messages of jobless engineers, some of them being professional engineers. Why are we importing experts to do work that locals can do? And so we're saying, for us to build this local capacity, we have to be deliberate in creating opportunities for our locals, our Kenyan engineers. Otherwise, we'll keep on saying the same thing, year in, year out. And I'm telling you, foreigners are coming here, doing work we should do, going home with the money, and we are paying for the money through our own taxes.
I think I can't remember whether it was early this year or late last year when there was an advert in local dailies about a construction company or something like that that was looking for specifically engineers of a certain nationality. And there was a lot of uproar in Kenya. As engineers, as Institution of Engineers of Kenya, did you pick up that issue?
Yes, we picked. We wrote. We wrote to the CS because the project was ITS, integration within the city. And it preferred nationalities, Chinese nationalities. We wrote to the CS, Mukomen then. We wrote to Kura, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, and our colleagues responded, of course. We made enough noise, and I'm sure that anyone going that route in the future will be careful.
How was the idea shelved? Or?
Well, I do not have the update. However, the response we got was exactly the same thing I've talked about. Financial agreements that are coached to look like it's a G2G agreement. And we are saying, if that is where we are getting to problems, maybe it is finance experts discussing these things without involving us as engineers. We're saying, have people in treasury, and we are setting up a meeting with Mbandi, the new CS treasury. Have engineers, wherever, in State House, wherever, in Prime Cabinet Secretary's office, wherever these agreements are being crafted. Have engineers there in diplomatic missions. We have economic attaché in diplomatic missions. Have engineering attachés so that we then don't start doing wrong things from the word go. We bind ourselves into agreements that are working against our citizens. But I can tell you, we will make noise. We have made noise. And I dare you that we will go to the streets if we must go. Because when we see opportunities...
That will be historical.
Yeah, it will be.
Having engineers on the streets.
Absolutely. When we see opportunities for engineers being taken, and we have local capacity to do this, I kid you not, it is not fair. Because we are compromising the future of this country. These opportunities, if we do a job and we have experts, And mark you, the laws have provisions. Even when we do not have local expertise, the people we bring, they train the local engineers, so that when we want to do this again, we are not going to import experts again. So we must look at it from a point of being deliberate. Well, we know we have got into agreements, we have African Continental Free Trade Area and all that. We want opportunities. But I'm telling you, it is not as easy to set up business in China as it is to do here. Why do, in diplomacy we have quid pro quo? If it is that easy for them to set up here, why don't we even make it also as easy as it is for us to set up shop here? However, these are engagements we are having, they are conversations we are leading as engineers, and we are saying it can't remain like that. Otherwise, we are compromising the future of this country.
Engineer Oyaro, I know local engineers, have in the past tried to influence decisions with a call to government that was it 5% of all projects in Kenya to be reserved for local engineers or something like that. Has this worked?
To some extent, some of the government works. It has worked, but not all. Again, we go back to the financial agreements. There are some that are crafted that the consultancy has to be basically the financing government. So it ends up that the work goes to their country. So the jobs that have been reserved basically for our Kenyans are mainly from development partners like African Development Bank, World Bank. Those are the ones. But the G2G financial agreements, you cannot influence them.
You cannot?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to add this here. It has not been this dour. In the 90s, we were in a situation whereby the financing partners had a lot of say and sway in this kind of agreement. But the NAG government, after 2002, was very firm. And you saw a burst in infrastructure development. And it's when you saw the revival of the engineering sector in this country. Why? Because the Kibaki government was deliberate in making sure that the finance agreements that we come into, they are not working against the local industry. And that's when you saw even engineering firms now come back to life when they were dead in the 90s and all that. So what we're saying is that we have seen this work, but I can guarantee you, post-2013, even up to now, we have gone back almost to what we had in the 90s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the script is there. We can go back. We don't need to be taken over. And by the financing, by the people financing these infrastructure projects, we just need to be firm. And if the deal is not good, we just turn it down. We will get other partners who are willing to work with something that is good for this country. We must be proud of ourselves as Africans. Otherwise, we will remain in after political colonialism through economic colonialism. And it is going to be very sad. Posterity will be asking us, what did you do?
Help me understand this. In a situation whereby we don't have foreign engineers in Kenya, do we have capacity in the local market to meet the local demand? Yes, we have the capacity. We do. The engineers for Kenya have been trained through our universities, and most have even gone and enhanced their skills abroad. So we are able to do the work. So given the chance, we are able to do it. Especially even the consultancies, the foreign consultancies, most of the work is guided by the local engineers because we are the ones who know the conditions within our country. Our skidding ratios and all those things, it's us who know it. So they have to use us to understand our locals so that they can customize the product to suit the locals. So we have the capacity. Look, Engineer Kiteme, talked about Kenya's plan to construct a 1,000 megawatt nuclear power plant, you know, at the coast. This is not a new dream. I mean, we've been having these, we've been talking about these, you know, for more than 10 years now. And he's talking about 1,000 engineers needed to run, manage, and construct that power plant alone. And you are talking about an industry where you have about 3,500 professional engineers. So, do we have, number one, engineers who are fully equipped with the demands of today's engineers, number one? And number two, do we have enough engineers to undertake what will be classified as mega project that would take hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers?
Yes, we have it. Only that the number of the professionals are less, but we are saying by the time the plant comes in, we would have transitioned quite a number of engineers. So the capacity is increasing with time. And that's why we're insisting on continuous professional development. And we are not only training them on the current trends here in Kenya, but worldwide. So our engineers are exposed, and we are ready to do even mega projects. Given the chance, Kenyan engineers can be able to do most of the work.
So let me tell you this. This country, German, for example, Ireland and other countries, they are tapping our own engineers to go and run their own manufacturing and stuff like that. We established a community of engineers in North America, Canada, and the US.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, we have our colleagues working in nuclear power stations in Canada, in the US. We have our colleagues working in Lockheed Martin, working in Boeing. We have our colleagues working in GE, producing the best equipment technology we are using globally. We have our colleagues in the UK, in Germany, Kenyan engineers trained here, but their skills being used in Europe and America. What are we saying? We're saying we have the best brains. We have the best brains that are applying their trade in Australia all over, doing all manner of things. So it is not true that we do not have the local capacity to do all things. In any case, I have been involved in projects even across Africa. That tells you our skills are still required across the continent. So it is not true we cannot do these mega projects. We can do them because we have the best brains here, and we need to trust our own local capacity because we have it.
You are bringing in the issue of brain drain, and it's true. I mean, you go to the United States, you find Kenyan engineers working in major corporations, and you have mentioned them, from Boeing to Microsoft to Google. You go to South Africa, you have Kenyan engineers working in companies like Eskom, in companies like Nasrec. You go to Rwanda, you have Kenyan engineers practicing there, constructing airports, constructing roads. And so, then when you come here in Kenya, you have a problem with Chinese contractors or Chinese engineers working in Kenya. How should we then handle this?
You see, let me tell you, even when we have these agreements, and the finance agreements prefer foreign firm to be the lead firm, and then we bring Kenyan firm to be a partner in JV. What happens, and I'll surprise you, a lot of work is done by the Kenyan partner, but all the money goes to the foreign partner. That has been the trend. And you'll be surprised, when COVID came, these expatriates flew away because they're afraid of COVID. What happened? They left work being done by the junior partners, supposed junior partners, who are Kenyan firms doing the work. Because they fled away. This is not their country. They felt safe in their own country. And what did we learn? We learned that actually The work proceeded. Projects were never stopped because the real work was being done by Kenyan firms. So it's a mirage created there. It's a false narrative created there. I need to bust it. And we need to build our local capacity. Look, countries that have developed, whether you talk of China, whether you talk of India and all that, they created an atmosphere where they built the local capacity. You want to target their market, they made sure that it's not as easy to import. You have to kind of build industries in the country, and then you employ the locals so that it is cheaper to produce locally what you want to import into that country. In a similar manner, we must be deliberate in making sure that we build local industries. These local industries will create opportunities for chemical engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, mechatronic engineers, textile engineers, so that we can now start producing, and then make sure that we build local industries, creating local opportunities, and training our own. Through the reverse engineering, what you are importing, we can actually start producing locally by building our local capacity and creating a business environment that creates local manufacturing and grows it. I know we have an ambition by 2030 to grow to the contribution of manufacturing to GDP to 20%. Currently it's about 7.6, sadly lower from 2015, which is about 10%. So we must be deliberate in what we are doing to build local industries, local capacity, which of course the net effect is create opportunities for engineers. So the belief that we do not have people locally who can do this is a false narrative, and we need to expand it.
I remember, I think about 3 or 4 years back, there is a company that is planning to construct an oil pipeline from Turkana to the port of Lamu. And the people who are in charge of this company, you know, are talking about lack of petroleum engineers in the Kenyan market. Kenya is constructing a smart city in the name of Konza. And there has been concerns that the local market, we do not have enough robotic engineers. These are some of the examples. How then do we ramp up the training that we have in Kenya to ensure that we also capture emerging technologies like robotic, hydrocarbons development, and so much, Engineer Oyaro?
Okay, this goes back to the curriculum in our universities.
And who is in charge of developing this?
Basically, it's the various universities in conjunction with the regulators. That is EBK. EBK comes in to see that the curricula suits what engineering should be. So basically, the universities should be able to upgrade, as in it's a rule from the Commission of University Education that every 5 years we should change our curriculum to suit the current trends.
Is it happening?
Basically, it should happen.
But is it happening?
It's not happening because
it's not happening.
So many things come in, funding and all those things.
So then aren't we then likely to be churning out 2,500 engineers who do not suit today's job demands?
No, far from the truth. Look, those people said that we do not have enough petroleum engineers. I think they did not consult IEK. Because when I'm seated here, I know colleagues working in Saudi Arabia, Qatar.
But will they come back to work in Kenya?
No, give them an opportunity. They have petroleum engineers, they're working with Schlumberger, they are doing incredible stuff.
But do we have petroleum engineers working here in Kenya?
Yes, they're there.
Well, we have, and I'm telling you, KPC, we have mechanical engineers, we have chemical engineers involved in incredible work, process engineering, working with petroleum products and all that. If you set up, we have KPRL, Kenya Petroleum, we had our engineers working there.
It's now bankrupt.
I mean, KPRL. We know the problems and all that. So many problems with the economy. But the narrative that we do not have the local capacity. I mean, I know the work that is happening in our universities. Go to Dedan Kimathi University. We are manufacturing semiconductors there. And I know we have young engineers, mechatronic engineers, who are doing what we are called 3D printing. Here in JKUAT, we have professors in our universities, top-notch professors, able to lead and churn out engineers capable of doing these things. So the person saying we do not have robotic engineers and all that, those are allegations that are false. Talk to IEK, we will give you engineers that you need. We have bright students in our universities doing incredible stuff. You visit exhibitions. This year, we are having annual convention in Mombasa, 29th October to 1st November. Come and see the engineers, young engineers exhibiting incredible stuff. Electrical engineers, mechatronic engineers, chemical engineers. Engineers are doing incredible stuff. So the person saying you do not have petroleum engineers, let them consult us as IK. If we tell them we cannot give them 5 engineers, petroleum engineers, then we will tell them you are right. But before them, let us not lie so that we can justify bringing foreigners to come here. You see, and you have said, yesterday we had a meeting with the CS Water and Sanitation, Engineer Eric Murithi. We were meeting him as IK. The conversations we were having with our colleague engineer, who is now Cabinet Secretary for Water, it was almost like a design meeting. Because for the first time, you're talking with a colleague who understands technical details of the ministry they are heading. Why don't we have that as modus operandi, where if you're talking of a ministry, which is engineering largely, have PS, the CS, being an expert in that area, then you're going to have conversations that are relevant. Otherwise, we are going to have conversations where people are saying they are not local engineers, they import their people. Because they are wheeler dealers, entrepreneurs, they're interested with the money, cutting deals. They're not interested with the actual technical issues that needs to be tackled by those state departments, ministry, departments and agencies. So if we are going to be serious, let us have engineers involved in making the technical decisions, financing agreements, so that then the infrastructure that we are implementing is implemented by Kenyan engineers. And I can tell you, we have the local capacity.
I can see time is almost coming to 10:57, and so we should be winding up and getting to the other topic. But I want to hear this from Oyara. I mean, and so it behoves IEK and other stakeholders in the industry to come out and say, look here, we have the capacity, we have the talent, we have the skills. And so come and engage us. Otherwise, if this doesn't happen, then there will always be that convoluted idea or notion that we do not have qualified engineers in Kenya. We do not have the necessary talent in this country. And so we need to import more. And so how then do we go out as engineers? How do you go out and as engineers and consult Kenyans, engage them and show them the talent that you have, the skills that we have, locally?
First of all, basically, what is done that we have engineers in Kenya basically might be felt in towns, but like Institution of Engineers has devolved. We have branches all over, and we are doing a lot of advocacy to various areas in Kenya. All the corners of Kenya, you go there is a branch that is able to advocate that we have engineers who are able to do this. Other than the advocacy that we are doing, also we need to come out in the media, the way we are here today, to tell Kenyans we are there and we are able to do it. Don't go looking for engineers abroad. We are here, we are able to do it, and we have the capacity. Our universities are churning out engineers who are capable of doing everything. Instead of letting them go abroad to work there, let them be utilized here and let them have a fair pay that will make them be retained within here.
Very good.
Yeah.
Engineer Kiteme, as we wind up, I just want to hear from you. I mean, you're talking about the engineers convention, which is coming up in Mombasa. Is it from 28th?
29th August, October.
October.
To 1st November.
Tell us something more about that convention.
The convention is prepared by the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Our theme is industrialization for economic transformation and job creation. We have organized ourselves so that the conversations that are happening, they are very relevant to the economic transformation of this country. All the sectors are covered: energy sector, water sector, building sector, agricultural. We are problem solvers as engineers. And we have organized ourselves so that we have expertise in all these areas: in agriculture, digital superhighway, universal healthcare. And what we are doing is, we are saying we have the solutions to the problems the country is facing. We are leading the conversation on solving these solutions. You have asked the question on whether we are going out. Let me tell you, we have organized ourselves such a way that we are leading these conversations. Two weeks ago, we released a statement on the state of manufacturing in this country. Thankfully, the PS on investments, PS Hassan Abubakar, picked it and called us for a conversation. And we have agreed on a framework on what we are going to do to make sure we solve the problems that we are seeing around this area. So IK has gone out there. We have building the local capacity. We have programs for making sure that we're involving everyone, young engineers, lady engineers. I'm telling you, while we have 13% of our engineers being ladies, we have 41% of them in the leadership forums of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. So we are working very hard to make sure that we are going out there and being problem solvers. Yeah. And so one of these conversations is going to be happening in Pride in Paradise, 29th October to 1st November. And we are inviting all the players in the industry to come. We are having panel discussions. We are having keynote speeches. Yeah. We are having participants from the private and public sector, from roads, water, agriculture, energy, all the sectors. And this is a place to be. Whether you are a manufacturer, whether you're a consultant, whether you are a merchant, this is a place to be.
And we are looking forward to a partnership between IEK and Kenya Broadcasting Corporation to ensure that that information and that communication goes out to the public.
Absolutely.
Engineers, it's always nice to have you and nice to talk to you so that we can see how we can advance the agenda of engineering in this country, and of course how we can reposition the engineering fraternity as a key socio-economic driver in this country. Your time is highly appreciated. I mean, you see, these are great conversations that we need to have as a country so that we see how we can position engineers as key drivers and enablers of socio-economic development. And it has always been said that if Kenya is going to achieve the much desired Vision 2030, then engineers must be the focal point of driving this dream. You're watching BizCheck. We're live from Broadcasting House. I mean, it's coming to 11:02. And so the next conversation is coming up next. We're looking at the state of innovation and research here in Kenya. My team is in the house, so stay right here for that communication.